Hello. We're going to look at Sunday school lesson for March the 16th, 2025. We're going to be looking at this week's study, which is found in the book of John, John chapter 5, and we're going to be looking at verses 1 through 11, and then we're going to jump to 17 to 20 for purposes of this study. The lesson this week is called The Signs of His Authority. Point being in this lesson is Jesus works in ways that go beyond our expectations. And we'll get to that point in a second. Where let's look at the verses that come up for this. So we're going to look at John 5, 1 through 7. Let me go ahead and start reading and then we'll start breaking it down. Verse 1 says, After Jesus returned to Jerusalem for one of the Jewish holy days, inside the city near the sheep gate was a pool of Bethesda. I hope I'm saying this right in English. With 5 covered porches. Crowds of sick people, blind, lame, and paralyzed, laid on the porches. One of the men laying there had been sick for 38 years. When Jesus saw him and knew he had been ill for a long time, he asked him, "Would you like to get well?" The person answered, the sick man, I can't, sir," the sick man answered, "for I have no one to put me into the pool. When the water bubbles up, someone else always gets ahead of me." So in this first part we're looking at, right, again, we're looking at the signs of authority, right? And it's obviously talking about Jesus' authority, God's authority. We look at this first part of the lesson that we're looking at, and we look at this place that they were talking about, and it doesn't say anything before or after, if I'm not mistaken, or mentioned anywhere, or anybody ever mentioned that these waters actually worked, but people were there because they felt that those waters had some kind of like mystic powers, right? And maybe they did for some purposes, I don't know, relaxing muscles, whatever, right? As we see sometimes today in our advanced technology. But people started relying on them for way too many things as far as miracles, right? And we could see that today with us as well, right? We put our faith because we're desperate in some different things. It could be in religion, it could be in, little crucifix, it could be in a picture, it could be on money, it could be on circumstances. We're very superstitious, stuff like that, right? And we think things are working because we want to put our hope in it. Because sometimes we want hope at all costs, right? And so we see this man that was there among all the sick people. He had been sick for 38 years. I don't know if doesn't mention if he was born this way or something happened to him, but he had been like this for 38 years, right? And so he was there, and just like when Jesus went to the wedding, just like when Jesus returned to the town and he ran into the higher official, Jesus knew what was going to happen. It was nothing surprising to him. But he was there, and he already knew that this man had been the way he had been. So he went up to him and he asked him, "Hey, would you like to get well?" And again, the man explains to him, "I can't get into the water. No one to help me. And by the time I get there, like someone already like goes ahead of me." But I don't think he understood that Jesus was like, "Hey, I'm offering you something," right? And so Jesus offers us the same solutions, right? Especially when we have them in our heart. He wants to help us out. He wants to do the same for us, right? For those of us who believe in him, and also for the people who don't believe in him. If you're listening to this and you have Christ in your heart, then God's definitely offering us to help us all the time, right? We read his word and we're like looking at his Bible and we're reading through his verses, and we should know that our God is someone who wants to help us at all times. If you're someone who doesn't have Christ in your heart, then Christ is definitely speaking to you in this verse saying, "Hey, I want to help you, obviously, with the things you need, but more importantly than that, I want to give you salvation. I'm offering it to you right now." And when we, as followers of Christ, talk to people about Christ, or we find ways to get Christ known to other people, we're definitely doing what Jesus said here, to this man, told him, "Would you like to get well?" And this person explained his situation, and and God heard him out. And so Jesus was like, "Hey, you know what? Let me do this for you." And so let's look at verses 8 through 11. And it says, Jesus told him, "Stand up, pick up your mat, and walk." Instantly the man was healed. He rolled up his sleeping mat and began walking. But this miracle happened on a Sabbath, so the Jewish leaders objected. They said to the man who was cured, "You can't work on a Sabbath. The law doesn't allow you to carry that sleeping mat." Uh, but he replied, "The man who healed me told me, 'Pick up your mat and walk.'" So, in this second part, we could see two things. First off, Jesus didn't do any ritual. He didn't tell the person. And I know there's different stories in the Bible talk about different things that happen, right? Like I understand that. But in this case, Jesus did not tell him to do any ritual, did not tell him to go put on anything, did not tell him to go jump in the water 3 times and all this stuff. Jesus just told him, "Hey, just stand up and walk." And just like last week when the father listened to Jesus, when Jesus told him, "Hey, you know what? You could go home. He's going to be okay." Same thing happened here. This man did not object. He just got up, rolled up his mat, and started walking. And so again, man obeyed Jesus. He was healed. Wasn't looking for it, but it happened because he had total faith in him. When we try our best to look for Christ, when we try our best to look for God, when we are looking for him, when we're trying to figure out how to be right with him and try to be as right as we can with him, God's going to know what we need in our lives, and he's going to offer the help. Now, again, our life is not going to be perfect. There's always going to be problems, and sometimes our life is going to be more problems than good. But even in that, Christ is helping us. He's there with us, telling us to stand up, pick up our mat, and walk. And he's going to do that for us because he knows what we need. He knows what we need, and he's going to take care of it no matter what, because again, he's there constantly for us, especially when we do what this guy did and just don't question him, get up and start walking, right? And there again, Jesus shows the authority that he had even over illnesses. So if Jesus has authority over the water to turn into wine, over a son who's sick far away, and in this case, a man who's paralyzed, then he will do the same thing for us, right? Spiritually and physically, right? He will do that because he has authority over all of that. In this story, right, the man got cured. He walked. Now, when the leaders approached him, and I say this jokingly, right? I totally would have told them, like, "Hey, man, I just started walking. I don't know the rules of this, right?" Just like any kid who just starts driving, and you might pass, or you might be doing something wrong, or anything that you do new, right? Like, I would have been like, "Hey, I just started walking. I didn't know the rules here. I'm sorry. Like, I won't pick up my mat," but it's a joke. They told him he couldn't carry his mat on the Sabbath, right? Instead of being happy for him that he had just healed, they told him that. Maybe they didn't know. But then again, he did tell them, right? The man who healed me said, "Pick up your mat and walk." And so then they found out that it was Christ. They went and talked to him. Let's go ahead and look at the last part. And it says here in the last part, 17 to 20, it says, "But Jesus replied, 'My Father is always working, and so am I.' So Jewish leaders tried all the harder to find a way to kill him, for he not only broke the Sabbath, he called God his Father, thereby making him equal with God." So Jesus explained, "I tell you the truth, the Son cannot do anything by himself. He does only what he sees the Father doing. Whatever the Father does, the Son also does. For the Father loves the Son and shows him everything he is doing. In fact, the Father will show him how to do even greater works than healing this man. Then you will be truly astonished." We know for a fact, right? Like, I'm not a parent, but for the most part, when a person has a son or a daughter, that person tries to imitate, and it happens even with brothers and sisters, right? But more so with parents, right? And we see here that Jesus was not trying to be against the leaders. He wasn't saying, "Hey guys, don't obey authority." It's like, no, he wasn't trying to do that. He was I mean, the Bible actually talks about, hey, you have to respect authority in the book of Romans, right? It says, hey, you have to listen to authority. That's why it's there. That's why we have rules in our planet, right? So that things don't get chaotic, right? And we have to obey the rules, right? And Jesus is the one established in the Old Testament, not Jesus, God, I'm sorry, um, establishes in the Old Testament, right? The law of rest, right? It talks about that and everything. But what he meant in this part, okay, in the verse 17, he says, "My Father is always working, and so am I." Jesus established the Sabbath, right, the day of rest, as a thing for us to follow, because us as humans are very, very ambitious sometimes, and we will not remember, and we will be like working 8 days a week if there was 8 days a week. And God is letting us know that He's always work and God is always at work, and they're the same person, and the Trinity, and everybody's at work. And that should give us comfort right there, because saying, hey, God doesn't take 2 weeks off. Christmas comes around, God's not like, hey guys, good luck for everybody, man, because I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks. It's like, no, God's in control. He's doing what He needs to do for us, right? Working for us around the clock. And letting us know, right? He's letting us know, I tell you the truth, the Son cannot do anything by Himself. Again, giving us the evidence that He is the authority, because God is allowing Him to do what He's doing, right? And so therefore, this man got healed because God allowed him to heal him. And so therefore, I know that the Jewish leaders were upset about this, but he was explaining to them, hey, don't be mad about it. I give you these days to rest so you could pay attention to the great things that I'm doing for you, and you could go back and worship me, and you could go back and give me thanks, and you could look for me and make sure that you remember all the great things that are going on because of me. And again, even if you don't have all these good things going for you, God still gives us the peace that we need. And even in that, we should give Him thanks, right? Because He gives us a chance to get rest from any of the problems that we have through Him when we look for Him, right? So, 3 things that I want to get out from this lesson today. Jesus is aware of our needs, right? Especially aware if we're not saved. He wants to save us if we don't have salvation, right? Jesus does everything for us, anything for us, guys, if we believe in Him, because He has authority to help us out, right? And again, He doesn't blackmail us. He doesn't tell us, if you do this for me, I do that for you. But He's aware of our needs. He is aware of our needs, and He could do anything for us, obviously, if we look for Him, and obviously if we ask Him, because He's not going to impose good things on us. I don't think anybody's going to go up to us and tell us, here's $500. No, I insist, take them. If someone comes up to us and tells us, well, most of the time, maybe some people will be nice enough, right? But I don't think anybody will go up to you and say, like, hey, here's $500. No, it's all right, thank you. Okay, they walk away. God's not like that. God is knows of what we're aware of, what we need, right? But when we believe in Him, when we try to obey Him, when we're doing what He needs to do, He is gladly gonna listen to us, and He's gladly gonna help us out. And again, He's not blackmailing us, but again, good things are gonna happen to us when we listen to Him. And again, last point too is God has authority over every day. Doesn't tell us to break the rules. That's not what He's telling us. But He has authority over every single day, because He's working for us at all times. He has goes beyond our expectations, even of a day, because He needs to do that for us. Because if He gave us 1 minute off His grace, like, it would be probably like the worst minute of our lives ever in the history of our lives. And so therefore, He's always working for us. He's always working for us, so that way we could remember, and we could take time and go and rest, and go and worship Him, and go look for Him, and read His Word, and interact as brothers and sisters, right? So I leave us with this thought. We should always expect more from God than what we actually think that He could do for us, because He has the authority to do it. no matter the day, no matter the time, no matter the situation, no matter what the problem is. Um, and if we haven't, we should expect that from Him. Other thing that I would like to leave us with is the fact that if we don't have Christ in our heart, then those expectations can't be met, because God can't work for us if He doesn't, if we don't belong to Him. Again, like I said, He's not going to force us to believe in Him, but He's also not going to help us out. Not because He's a mean God, but because if you're not connected to Him, if you don't have a relationship with Him, then He can't do anything for you. Um, so tonight I leave you with that additional thought, like, hey, if I don't have Christ in my heart, I want to accept Him as my Lord and Savior. I want to say, hey, Lord, I know that I'm a sinner. I know that you died on the cross for me. I know that you resurrected on the third day. I know that I am a sinner and I need you in my heart. I would like for you to come into my heart. You say those things to God, and He will come into your heart. And from that moment on, you will be connected to Him, and you will see the signs of His authority. And so that is what the lesson is about, the signs of His authority. God works for us way beyond our expectations. This guy was not expecting to be healed, but he got healed because he believed in God. And God has the authority over that, and He has authority over the days of our lives, and our rest, so that way we could go back and thank Him. So thank you so much for your attention, and I hope you guys have a good week.